Basically, the first thing I do is I set up my station. So I come in with my watercolors, I dampen them with water. That happens first before anything else happens. That way the paint is softening as I'm getting ready to use it. Sometimes I'll spray with a little spray water, the mixing area, just so I can use that paint that's sitting there and ready to go. So I have my 2 tubs of water, just small because they're portable that way for me. One will be my clean water and one will be my dirty water. It looks like they need to be cleaned. My big spray water bottle to give me a rough spray that works great for certain textures. This is my smaller spray bottle. This is a misting bottle. That works great for mist and clouds and that type of thing. And then here's my drinking water right here that I keep on the opposite side. I also keep it in a thermos just because that's what I carry with me all the time. And I can't accidentally dip my brush in it. So here's my credit card. It's got something sticky on it. I'll have to clean that. So that goes off to the side here. You can't see, I'll tip. Creak, creak. Are my 2 brushes, my flat wash brush and my lining brush, my wonderful flexible calligraphy type brush. This is the silver black velvet. And I did compare other brushes with this one that were similar, like the Kolinsky, and for the same size and the same basically brush, the Kolinsky cost more than 2 to almost 3 times as much as this. And the job it does is maybe 5% better. So I would highly recommend this because it's a workhorse, and it does a lot of great things. I like my flat brushes here, Aquarelle or whatever, that have this beveled tip at the end that I can use for scraping and doing different things. I have my watercolor paper here. This is just class demonstration paper. It got wet somehow. That doesn't usually bother too much. It's an okay paper. Here's another Canson paper. This one is almost smooth. That's like a hot press. That's a Strathmore mixed media. Almost hot press. I'll use that if I have to at the end, or, you know, if I don't have anything and I need something really quick. I did cut up a bunch of small pieces of paper from scraps the other day. So, because here I have a stack of like reference photos. This is from class last week. Here's some smaller pieces I can use. I can tape those down and use them. That's good paper. More reference photos. Did I print out? Yeah, here's my reference photos for this week. So I come in early and I get organized. I like certain things to the right, certain things to my left. I look at the paintings I worked on last week. I'm trying to figure out what details do I want to add to this to kind of complete this painting. So that's in my thought process over there. Some others, here's some paper that's used on one side and I can use as examples on the other. My lesson notes. These didn't come out that well. I'm not sure what I'll do with them. I'll think about those, set those aside to think about them. Okay, so basically I'm set up, kind of ready to go. And that's how I start out. Keep it simple. Keep it direct. I don't have a lot of colors. I have my basic cool and warm of each color. So there's my cool lemon yellow, my warm cadmium yellow. I'm going to skip here. I have my warm cadmium red. This is basically a alizarin crimson. It's a cool transparent. Skip that. I have my cool blue ultramarine. Here is a cobalt, and this is cerulean, a warm. I do have some ivory black that I use sparingly. And then my earth tones are my yellow ochre. That's an earth tone. My burnt sienna, my burnt umber, which is a dark brown. And then I do have some sap green. I just kind of like that. Sometimes it's quick to dip into when you're doing trees or something. Again, simple, a little salt, an erasing tool. Got my pencil, didn't have my pencil. just a light, hard pencil, in case I do want to sketch out something on the paper. I don't sketch out that much anymore, but depending on it, if it's a building or something, I will do a sketching on here. So that's it. Ta-da! All right, when I'm taping down a piece of paper on my plexiglass here, and this plexiglass I just pull out of, I buy some frames that already have this in it, frames for paintings, and I can save this and then I replace it with real glass. So I'll take a piece of tape, measure it out quickly, basically to go on that size of paper, and then I overlap it just over about 1/4 of an inch on the edge for this size paper. If the paper is huge, I might overlap it more, but I measure from this side about 1/4 of an inch. I try to lay down this corner about 1/4 of an inch. Can you see? No. And then press it in. Do it on this side again. See, I measured there. I don't know if you can see, but right about there is about 1/4 of an inch in. And before I press it down along, I try to get this corner here at about 1/4 of an inch in. Press it down, and that's pretty good. If I want half this, I can just take it and go down the center. I can measure it if I want. I have a pretty good eye. I kind of eyeball it here and try to keep that corner down and try to keep it straight and plumb. P-L-U-M-B, plumb. Just to hold it so it's nice. So that's good. And then when I put my tape away, I don't know if you do this or not, but I do on my tape, trying to get the best angle of light here. The light's not great. I'll take this end of the tape and I just fold it back. So then when I go to use it again, I know exactly where that starting point is. Just quick and easy, little tips. All right, I'm gonna prepare a couple more papers. Just wanted to remind us why we tape this down. It's because as we're painting with watercolor, the paper is a fiber and it absorbs water. If it's a rag paper, a high quality paper, it's going to absorb more water. And as it happens, that is limited in size and you get it taped down. So it's gonna buckle a little bit. It's gonna have little waves in it. And then as the painting dries and that water evaporates, it will flatten back out again. If we do not have it taped down, this helps to stretch it flat. If it's not taped down, it might keep that waved effect, and you don't want that. Plus it's hard sometimes, it can puddle the color, so keep an eye on that. Lots of little things to look for in watercolor. All right, since this is week 4, so a little review of some of the things we have covered because we've been through a lot. We talked about our supplies, we've talked about brushes, the quality of brushes and the variety of brushes. And you don't need a lot of brushes in watercolor. You need a couple great workhorses, a flat wash brush, and a nice calligraphy style brush that holds its point really well, very versatile, and the other supplies. Also, let's see, techniques. We talked, here's this information that I gave you. If you don't still have this paper, let me know. I can send it to you again. You're going through your basic washes, your flat wash, a graded wash for skies, your wet and wet, dry brush to get sharp lines, lifting color with a sponge or a paper towel, anything you have around like that, splattering with your brush or a toothbrush, color and color, and stamping with different things. There's also lifting with your light brush. Review that. Here's your basic colors. The T means basically a transparent color, and the O means opaque. It's good to mix your opaques with opaques and transparents with transparents. Opaque means that there's some sort of particles in it that are going to filter down, and sometimes you want that as a texture. It's really cool. If you want a bright, say green, mix a transparent lemon yellow with a transparent ultramarine blue or maybe the cobalt. If you mix the lemon yellow with the cerulean, which is an opaque type color, it has particles in it that will settle out, then you're going to get something very different. You're not going to get a crisp, clean color. It's going to be a more muted and grayed color, which is great too. So just be thinking of that. And the ways that you can blend these works really well on this mixing chart that I gave you. Go ahead and do this. I have put in some colors at the top and down the side, but mix it up, change it around. Go according to your palette and go around this way and then see what happens when you mix and you get these different grays. It's really a great exercise and a great reminder and something to have on hand if you're looking for, ooh, I don't know, like an olive green. What's something that's close to getting there? I also gave you this triadic color, this color theory, the primary colors, secondary, analogous colors, complementary, and the uses of these colors, just as a nice reminder. So you have those resource papers. Go ahead and keep track of those, and you can save them on your computer or something. And collect resource, reference photos. I just collect them, I put them on a doc, I print them up. They're small, that's okay. They're just real quick and easy to use. I turn them to black and white because I can invent color for that painting that way. If I have a color photograph, I'm apt to try to copy the colors on the photo rather than create my own painting. And you want your painting to be as much your personal painting as possible. You're painting because you're creating out of your own soul, your own spirit, your own creativity, personality. So to me, that's what's important. If you notice on my palette here, I did clean out a little section in the middle. I didn't have much clear cleaning space. Give it a little spritz. I like some color around the edge. That way I can just drag some in really quickly so my colors are not straight out of the tube colors. Sometimes those straight out of the tube colors are just almost distracting in a painting. You want more natural looking colors. So just go ahead and lightly clean up your palette, get it ready to go. Whoop! See how green just loves itself? It's all over the place. All right. Went out with my grandson trick-or-treating. He gave me a little tattoo. There it is. I got my little spider. I was kind of happy with that. That's the only tattoo I probably will ever have. All right, any questions, do email me, travelingartista@gmail.com, and visit my website, please, travelingartista.com. Everything ties into Traveling Artista because people couldn't say or spell my name very well. So there it is. This is my QR code. You can scan that with your phone, go right to my website, email, website, lots of ideas. I'll be opening my Patreon page really soon. That's for a nominal price per month. You can keep in touch with me and keep up on some aspects that I'm teaching, and I give feedback to a couple of the levels on my Patreon page. So please do that, and it's been a pleasure having this class. Definitely. I'm in a little early and before class starts, before it gets noisy in here because we all have so much fun. I want to do a couple of practices, and it's nice to warm up before class anyway. So I'm going to do one of these shadow pictures. I think I might try this one, albeit on vertical paper. That's going to be tricky. I might have to switch my paper. So I think that is, yes it is, it's out of the picture frame, but that gives you an idea of where I am going. I'm going to do this one right here. Now, I'm not going to copy it. I'm going to play with it. Notice there's rays of light coming down. Be really careful with those rays of light because they can get very, what do I want to say, formulaic. It can look like you're being cool and all that, and it can look kind of amateurish as well. So you want to be careful with that. So if I were you, I'd start a little sketch, kind of where the tree's going to go. I'm thinking of my division of thirds. Here's the edge of the painting here. So I don't want, even though the photo, I think I could put this down here. Can you see it? Not quite. I need to move this up a little bit. Sorry. Not the best tripod. All right, so you can see it's almost halfway here. I don't really want it halfway. I want to push it. And since I'm working on the shadows, I'm going to bring that up. So here's my hill. about a third of the way up here. I get my trunk off to the side here, a nice angle of that trunk. Get your roots going down into the ground. That's important. And remember the Fibonacci series of things that are growing. It starts double, gets half, half, half as you go out into the branches. So you don't want the upper branches being larger than the trunk. I mean, that does happen sometimes in nature, but it's pretty rare. All right, I don't want to fiddle this too much because I want some nice brush strokes to do that. What I'm going to focus on is some of the shadowing in here. So the light's coming from behind, it's going to fall out at first. It hits a little hill here of some sort, and the shadow, you have to mirror image it. So there's, you know, it's going to come, that shadow's going to come down in here, and then it's going to go off. Now, shadow with perspective, yes, as it dissipates, the branch shadows are going to get larger as they go out. So we want to think about that, but I want to leave it very loose again. I'm going to put my photo off to the side. All right. So we're going to start with lighter colors. Actually, I might leave thinking here about the light, very, very light. So first of all, let's get in some dark trunk areas. I don't want gray. Can you see my palette yet? I mean, I do want gray. I don't want straight brown. The trees are not, trunks are not brown. They are more gray. I don't know what it is. It's something about when we bring wood into the house and we finish it up, it often becomes brown. And that's what we think of, that stained wood. I'm picking up a little green here because that brown is in the orange family. This is my dirty water here. And I'm going to pick up a little more blue there. All right, so pretty deep, looks like a dark color. I'm going to just let my brush strokes try to do the work, think ahead, few brush strokes as possible. Stronger on this side. Branches heading off. I want to darken that a bit more. Okay. Drop in some color while it's still wet. Oh, got a little fat out here, so what do I do while it's still wet? Grab a paper towel. Don't blot around, just blot it once, lift it. Hopefully that'll blend into something. I don't want to fiddle with it because that can mess it up. All right. Now shadows often have a lot of ultramarine blue in them. They are usually reflecting the sky, and you want that to show in your painting. You can add a little cobalt in there as well. That's really, really blue, so let's go ahead and pick up something that's going to neutralize it a little more. It's a little better. Bringing this in. As it comes out, it dissipates. So just have some loose fun with this. Get up on your brush as it goes out. Follow a little bit your photo, but don't worry about it too much. I'm going to drop some blue into this trunk just to kind of tie the two areas together so they're not totally separated. Again, a little brown down here. I'm going to get my mist spray it off to the side, check it. In the ground area, I want that to spread out. And maybe up in the branches a little too. Okay. Way up in the tip top of my brush, irregular. You know, where this is dissipating out here, that nice bleed, that can just be like off in the distance how the, you know, the tips of the branches, the little tendrils are out there and they're just kind of floating off into the distance. I want to get some more branches down here. Kind of have fun with this. All right, I want a little greenish stuff happening up here. Actually, I don't know if I like that too much. I want to indicate there's other stuff around it. Get some wash of water. I still have a little paint in my brush, but it's mostly water. And I'm just bringing that along that horizon. I'm going to blot some of this area to make it look more like, you know, kind of a out of focus tree area back there. Who knows what's going on? What else can I do down here in the foreground? I've added more water, so these branches are a little lighter than they were before, than the ones like in the center part of the trunk. And then it gets, again, more water, just a hint of paint in there. I just want that line there to be a little more defined, so I picked up some paint and I'm just dropping some in to the edge of that snow that's in the background. It's a little too regular. I don't want it to look like a road. I want it to look like we're out in the woods. There, that's kind of fun. What I did there is I kind of sprayed around, and I think as it starts to dry, like this area is a little dry in the middle here. What if I take some of the big spray and dribble it on? And it might end up looking a little bit like snow. Now, talking about snow, we can also get some salt. Bring it off to my hand here. Don't need much. I put some sea salt in there. I have to look for areas that are somewhat dry. Drop that salt in and then leave it alone. Okay, that's not a super tree, but you get the idea. Now, what if we wanted to have these rays of light coming through? I would still probably use this brush. I dampen it, it's clean, it's not wet, it's just damp. And then I can, I hope this works. I'm gonna rush, like the light's coming from there, I'm gonna try to lift some of this, twist. So now it's beginning to give us a little bit of a feel that it's radiating out. I just picked up some salt there. That one I want lighter. So that's kind of fun too. Clean your brush well, because I just felt that it picked up some salt and I don't want that salt sitting in my brush. Point it off, set it down. There's a little tree. Look how it's getting some texture in here. That's going to be cool. Now I leave it alone for a while till it dries, and then I can pick up some more details, maybe add a little bird up in the tree branches, something like that. One tricky aspect of watercolor is painting water, because you need to leave the white as sparkles. This takes a lot of experience and practice to start leaving the white, know where you're going to leave that white, go in with the lighter colors first, then darker colors. It's almost like putting a puzzle together. This I'm going to try, again, to make it feel like water coming down. There's a couple things you really need to pay attention to. Number one is water always finds its own level. So any top surface of water needs to be horizontal, flat, flat, flat. So as this little stream is coming down through, it's falling here, falling, and then it hits a flat area. And then when that fills up, it falls again and hits another flat area, etc. And notice how much contrast is happening here. The water surface, as it moves, is catching light and being very bright. But then dark areas of the rock are showing through. So the most important thing in both of these aspects is contrast, light to dark. And figuring that out is really what's going to help your water look like water. So in contrast to the rocks around it, we're going to make the rocks fairly solid. Not a lot of light color on that. We're going to let some of the darks work in. The same with the leaves. I mean, if you squint down, you can see that this area is dark. This is a middle tone. What I mean, you know, from almost black to medium gray. So that's a middle tone where your water is very, very light. And that's going to draw the person's eye to the water. So let's play with this. Again, it's loose. You don't have to worry about it being exact. But do think about as that stream is coming down, say we start up here, it comes down, and you want to keep hitting levels of water. It starts very small in the distance, and here I'm just kind of figuring out where it's going to go, and then it streams down, and then as it comes closer, it comes over here. I'm thinking where the water's going. Here's a little flat area here before it falls down, and you want it to be irregular. Every time it comes down, you want it to be a different, like you don't want this distance from the top of this water to this to be the same here. So we're going to make this one come down a little further, very irregular. I'm just generalizing where I want this. It disappears behind some rocks, comes down in here. We're going to make this a larger area because I kind of want my center of focus here. I want this kind of flowing off this way to another little puddle here. So I have this zigzag design going on. And if you look at water as it falls, it creates almost this triangle as it comes down. Boom, like this. A little more stream, a little surface coming down, and then it falls off as it goes down this way. Getting a little larger each time. By making these larger each time, it will feel like it's coming at us. Now, I know I'm going to start with my rocks. I have my plastic wrap because I'm going to use that. And yeah, get some good dark colors because I have a good amount of space here. You want to make your mixing puddle a good amount. Try to consider how much area you have to cover with this paint and plan ahead. Don't get stingy. Don't get stingy here. All right, there's some good dark. I'm going to add a hint of water here at this point so it's not too dark, a little more blue. And where do my rocks go? I'm going to use this to go around that little sketch that I have. Irregular shaped rocks as well. Keeping that edge near the water that I drew very dry. I want it sharp because that sharpness is going to create the contrast I want. So I'm just setting these in now, but then as I'll blend the outer edges. I'm paying attention to this inner edge that's near the water. And since I'm going to use the wrap, I'm not too concerned about the squareness of the rocks yet. But look how I'm laying them in as if they are rocks. Darkest right before the top of that water. That got a little tilty. Now again, even though they're rocks, they're not all the same darkness. Notice I'm going to not put all those little dots in between. I'm going to come back later to where the water is peeking between. I mean, the rocks are peeking between the little bits of water. That's a little awkward right there. But I'm going to work with that shape. Okay. I want it to kind of fade off here. I don't want the eye to be drawn down here. If I keep it just as dark down here is toward that central area, then the eye is not going to know where to go. And I want it I want to direct the eye at that central area. All right, I'm going to get some more lighter rock color in here. And then I'll come back. Okay. Composition, intersection of thirds. It doesn't matter if your paper is long or square or any way like this. If you divide it into thirds,
Both ways.
both ways, this way vertically and horizontally. This is really rough, obviously.
Okay.
See, this one's different. Here,
Got it. Yeah.
here, and here. So your intersection points would be here, or here, or here, or here. If, you know, you put like, say, your main focus here and your secondary focus down here, or main focus up here and your secondary down here or something. So that's the intersection of thirds. That's the rule of thirds.
Yeah, I remember it, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
And it's based on this fancy golden mean. It's a division of space that the Greeks used.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually.
All right, and you can have a little tree with a shadow. Bluish, I just add blue in for the shadow. And it's sitting on a little island kind of thing.
Is this plein air? Did you paint this?
No, I did this from a photo. Yeah. So I'm gonna make it a little darker here because it's like grass or something. So this is the edge of your water. So I want to make sure that's going to be, again, horizontal basically, so you know it's water.
That's another reason why it's not water.
Yeah, because it's not. And then we'll pick up some blue and bring, again, leaving that sparkle at the edge of it.
If I was a high school student, I'd say, yeah, Mrs., but snow is water, isn't it?
It is water, right? That's what keeps you on your toes, I think.
Oh, boy.
So see how I'm leaving some white in there? I didn't leave it as well as I probably should have, but... And now where that's all kind of there, as it's under the little island here, it's going to be darker because it's reflecting. It's shadowed by it. Water's really complex.
Yeah.
It's a shadow, and it's also reflecting the whatever's above it, the land. A little something with the tree. Just a hint that it's reflecting the tree somehow. Sometimes a twisted paper towel. See how that's, no. I want to twist it so it's got some good striation.
Oh.
Sometimes that works. And you can only use that once. But they were blending a little too much together for me, so I wanted to. So I'm just letting my brush kind of dance around on the paper. Some control. My brush dance. I don't know what you're doing down there. I didn't have that on my other phone. Your balls, of course.
Yeah, mine came out all right.
You start with a lighter color. And somebody's getting a call. Is that you, Donna?
Mine's turned off. Might be on vibrate. Yeah, it's fine.
Was it yours? Okay.
Yeah, I thought I had turned it off in some
No, that's okay. I just didn't know if it was something important. You might not want to miss it. So I just kind of go around, and I will turn this because my curve goes naturally this way. It's not natural going this way. So by turning the paper, I'm drawing. And I'm going to leave that white highlight in the middle, and that follows the form of the ball.
Okay.
So let's add a little color in there. So I have to watch these dribbles now. I don't want that to happen.
Sorry, I'm getting
You're fine. You're fine. Just on this side. I can still see.
So then when it's all dry, which this is not, I wonder if there's a drier area. Pam makes fun of my Maine accent sometimes. I used to say drawing. We had an R in there, but she says drawing. You know, so it's in between. So now I say drawing. Try to get the accent right, right? Maybe I'll lift. You can also lift a little bit if you want. I don't like that edge just a little. So just simply the lighter, the middle tones, and then the darker.
So it looks like on this one, though, the darker part's like at the part
In the middle.
closest to you.
It is, and that's interesting. So it's reflecting some windows here. Looks like those shapes, and I'm thinking a ball. So mine's,
Oh, okay.
there's a red tablecloth.
Right, it is.
Mine
It
has a red
is,
tablecloth.
reflective.
Uh-huh.
Here's
Yeah.
some-
Yeah.
I see. Well, that makes sense.
We knew that.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't know that, Nettie.
I'm
Oh, that
so
tablecloth there.
You know, I was
I can
thinking
see
that.
it.
Okay, so what if I throw in big circle? If it could make a circle, that would be great.
Now that looks pretty circlish.
Pretty circle. Look how thick that cerulean is. I don't know, this is one of those variegated balls. Then you can take the right shape of a paper towel and just hold it and lift.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That thing. Yeah, well, that worked.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then when it dries, you can put your little things on.
Okay, nice. Cool.
Oh, the snowman. I didn't get to do the snowman yet. Huh? What's this?
Krista wants to do the snowman.
All right, I'm going to do snowman.
Yeah, but his head got bigger than his body, so I just gave up.
All right.
Some plus.
Circle, circle, and big circle.
Oh my goodness,
What? What?
I'm taking it too seriously.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna give him a background. Right? So
Oh, you must have good eyesight. I don't see
Yeah, I
you.
don't
you don't see my pencil? Yeah.
No.
it's-
Barely, yeah.
So I want to get this in quickly. I want the edge around him to be sharp. So I turn my paper over so that would stay sharp, and then I can blend in this outer area later.
Snowman already?
Building out the background around
See?
him,
Yeah.
not him.
All right, nice.
So that's the start of the snowman. And of course, he needs to sit down on the ground.
Snow. There should be snow under him.
Yeah.
You look so easy.
Well, it's been melting, you know. It's a.
Oh.
I don't know. You can always come up with it. It's always something. He's in shadow because I want him to pop out. But that is a little too. I don't really like that. So there. And then up here, check the wetness. That's still pretty wet, but I'm going to try. Up. There we go.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, he's
and you could do some
blending in.
salt. Oh, you don't even need the salt. That worked. Just like
That can give some soft.
Yeah,
the
that's
more
nice.
as the
Looks like
salt can
flakes.
be a little sharper.
that's like flakes.
It does, right?
Does it snow?
And then the mostly water and a little edge. I'm gonna. I think
Wow.
both my waters are
I
dirty.
have to go home and do that.
I'm just side loading the brush. It's mostly water here with a little side loaded because I want the side of him to be a little bit shadowed. Dry it off. I'm gonna lift some of that, trying to keep that spherical shape. And then when that's dry, then you can come in with the details.
You want your anything? Oh, I can do that.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, does